us love our enemies.
I'm going to love him, but I'm going to love him enough to arrange the meeting.
Well, okay, so I'm contemplating now leaving the pre-show on. Unless I can figure out a way to cut it and keep both parts of it.
Well, you got Final Cut Pro now, don't you?
I can't figure out how to use it.
So you just drag the video down and then put the marker where you want, right-click until it's split the video. And now it's 2 videos. Save one as one.
Okay, I'm going to have to keep playing with that then. So, welcome back to the Areopagus. We're going to push through this because, I mean, we really only have about 45 minutes-ish. So, the pre-show, definitely, we went from conspiracy theory, which, like I said, I'm going to do my best to split that and just share it because it's too good not to. It's just it's not our typical pre-show conversations. So I'm going to figure out how to split it, save it, and keep them in that. But for today, we
hey, real quick, we need to do it and announce that we're going to do a live one day. Figure out how to stream it live, and then we'll give out, do a Google number or something and publish it. That way people would call in and chime in on the conspiracy theories.
That would be interesting.
That'd be fun.
So interesting. But we're, like I said, we're diving in, and at the end of the pre-show, it definitely leads into our first topic. So we are going to wrap up Matthew chapter 5 today and then start into chapter 6. So we are about a third of the way through the Sermon on the Mount. And we start with, in verse 43, the caption in my Bible for this section is "Love Your Enemies." So, I'll start reading, and then we will talk about how we are told by Christ to love all, even the ones we don't much like. So, in verse 43, it says, You have heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. What is that one? You shall G. Where's my little G? Because I want one of y'all to look it up for me real quick. Leviticus 19:18.
You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord.
Okay.
That's Leviticus 19:18.
Okay. So, and then it says, but I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what and reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? And do not even the Gentiles do the same? You, therefore, must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. First off, I'm going to address verse 48, that that last verse. It says, "You therefore must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." To me, Christ is making a very bold statement there that he himself knows we can't achieve on our own. And knowing that in this life that I live here, I'm going to never be perfect because I am flawed, I am fallible, I am man, and I am a sinner.
Well,
So
we might want to look at some different versions there of perfect. I have some notes in here that what that perfect there is not necessarily perfection in the sense that we think of it,
okay,
but more along the lines of mature,
okay.
those kind of things. So
I like mature a whole lot better than I like perfect.
well, I think there again the perfection that we're talking about is a strive towards anyway. I mean, even if we were to look at it, and even at maturity, we can look at things like Colossians 1:28, which says, "Him we proclaim, warning everyone and teaching everyone with all wisdom, that we may present everyone mature in Christ."
Right, and it's Ephesians 4:13. I believe that is it 13 or 14. Toss. It's 13.
Right.
I got a bunch of extra notes in here.
So
13 says, "Until we all attain to the unity." To the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ.
Right.
So I do like the maturity phrase better. Come on in, guys. And we'll make it work.
You want to smell it?
And y'all go find
Come
the
on,
chair,
we
and
gotta
we'll
get a
squeeze
chair.
in.
We
Okay.
smell like a brisket.
Come on.
Hey, what's going on, man?
And y'all go grab a chair and join in. So I do like that better. I do like the maturity part better because when it comes to perfection, I know that no matter what I do in this lifetime, I will never achieve perfection.
Right, and that's where I think that we have to there again look at more something along the lines of the ideal.
Right. Okay.
If we're even gonna look at it in terms of perfect, right? That it's a striving towards that ideal.
Right. Okay.
So, but there again, the Greek word that's used there in other places in the New Testament, it tends to be something that's more along the lines of mature.
So I'm going to take you. So I looked in here. So perfect. A way
Here's
that
the King
is
James
another
preacher.
verse in the Bible that it is used in is as the perfecter, right? So it's going to be Hebrews 12:2, where it says, "Keeping your eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, for the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." So what I perceive that they're saying in Matthew verse is not that we have to be perfect, as in we never make a mistake, but we need to have perfection in our faith of God.
Well, there again, I think that would translate to maturity too.
Yes.
So,
But
yeah, what does perfect mean, right? So yeah.
Okay, so for y'all just now joining, Matthew
Sorry,
5,
we're late,
verse
teacher.
48. Well,
I
you
have a
see
note.
how far in we are, right?
We have a note from our mom.
Yeah.
Y'all
Y'all missed the pre-show.
Yeah. The pre-show took a little while.
Jeremy, you want to smell my hands?
No,
Yeah,
I know it does. It smells like brisket.
that's right.
Um,
Our favorite cologne.
So we are in the section. Brisket and bacon are a close race.
Barbecue and gunpowder. That's new cologne coming out.
Take it right in there.
So it's love you're in. This is what we're discussing, and I'm going to step off into the political realm real quick, and then I'm going to quickly pick my foot back up. Okay. Even though there have been times I have not agreed with the policies or procedures or actions or this, that, and the other of who leads our country, and there's even things I don't agree with about our current regime. So it isn't just one side or the other, it's all involved. But even when I was more against the current administration at the time, I still prayed for my leaders in that situation, because at the end of the day, what they decide and do and move forward with affect me in the long run. And so I need to pray, even though I don't like them, that you could consider them an enemy because I don't like them, I don't agree with them. At the end of the day, I still want to pray that they have sound mind, sound heart, sound and judgment, and to do what is best for the whole. Even though it might not happen, that is what I look at when it comes to our administrations. And so the love finger in part, I actually do like him, because to me, it reminds me that it's just not for those we like or love.
But the flip side of that coin is submission.
Right.
So that's you're submitting not to the authority per se,
To the person.
but you're submitting to God and His telling us, this is what you do.
Right.
Governments are instituted among men, and He's taking care of it. And so that's where we place our trust, our hope, our faith. And
I mean,
two sides of the coin.
I had a captain that was making some bad decisions at the time, and I told him, it was actually a few of us in a group, told him that we respect your rank and because of the rank you carry, but we do not respect you as the person behind that rank. So there is a balance there. Just because I respect and pray for the overall doesn't mean I agree with everything they do.
And I think you got to define what love means in that, in that verse. And I don't think it means because you love them, you go along with everything that they say or do.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different than, we've had the conversation about homosexuality before.
Right.
You still love that person, welcome
Exactly.
to the church, try to do anything you could to help them, but you're not going to not tell them that they're living in sin.
Well, all of the loves in this particular verse would be agape love. So,
Right.
so
Heard of that one. I don't know where I've heard it from. Well, it's important. We love each other. I think what they're talking about is the destination of the soul, right? I mean, we talked about in Sunday school this morning, our mission as the church, what we're supposed to do. Share the gospel, teach them make disciples, educate them, and send them out, because Jesus is the answer, right? We all know that. And so regardless of how we feel about him and all of that, our main goal would be to see them know who Jesus is and see them through us. Now, sometimes it's hard because they make us mad, right? I mean, we kind of let anger decide if we're going to be a good witness that day or not, or if we're going, depends on how mad they make us. But that shouldn't determine, what we should do. So you're right on loving them that way. We have to really put ourselves out of the way.
Too. I think in today's culture, the terms love and tolerance are made to mean the same.
In worldly sense.
Yes, in the culture of our worldly country, love and tolerance are portrayed to mean the same thing, and they're not.
Or speaking the truth in love.
Exactly.
It's not equated to that, yes.
Right.
It's a false definition.
Dichotomy is the word you're looking for.
Woo! You
man.
get these $10
We walked in on that
Say,
one.
why do we gotta use big words?
I heard it.
I don't know. And because he's very well learned. That's why. Scott is very well learned.
Me being
Jeremy, you need to look at the camera and say, we're going to pause for a minute, let you get out your dictionary and look it up. So we get back on the same page.
me being a former Marine, we gotta keep using words like this. I'm gonna bring my crowns and my coloring book.
I'll bring you some green ones, okay? Is green or red your favorite? Chewable.
Which flavor?
Better.
Which flavor do you like best? Green.
Well, now I've got a question on 46B.
Okay.
Do you think Jesus winked at Matthew?
Do not even the tax collectors do the same? For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same?
Yeah, I wondered if Jesus kind of looked over and winked at him. I like to think he did.
Matthew couldn't have avoided that. He's the only guy.
I mean, that's a pretty narrow field of the 12 main guys.
Well, yeah, you're either a fisherman or a tax collector, right?
I see it too, like, love your neighbor and everything, and love your enemies. Is because, like it says, for he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and he sends the rain on the righteous and unrighteous.
Alike.
He's not gonna, him as God is not gonna sit there and punish Jeremy for my sin committed in the same room. Right? He's not gonna punish a whole for one sinner's mistake.
We talked about this
He
few
did
weeks
in the
ago.
Bible several times. Yeah.
We talked about this, I don't know how many Sundays ago in class.
Mm-hmm.
The two different kinds of grace.
Yes.
Or was it two different kinds of mercy?
Yes. It was. Well, we've talked about both. Grace fit another.
So
common
in this
grace
sense, in
versus
the
saving
rain,
grace.
Right.
was
And
the
then-
mercy.
Yes,
And
mercy.
was the rain. Was common mercy or saving mercy, something like that. So
I've
just
always-
something because
See, they are listening in class.
we do listen.
Who knew?
Well, I've always taken that is that God has no preferential treatment, right?
Mhm.
When it comes to things like that, right? He's going to make it rain on both of us equally.
The just and the unjust.
Right. He's going to do that. Now, I think that he's set a time in history
Well, yeah,
where
because
that
when you look-
isn't going to happen.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
So-
you look at the egg. You woman look coming at the Exodus story and the 10 plagues. You see where he's doing two women, where God is making things happen for the Egyptians, to where I don't know how far away the Israelite camp was.
Goshen, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
Goshen was probably less than a day's walk from
So they're not having the same things happen to them, and they're within the same region
right.
for the most part. I mean,
Well,
so
again,
you
I
do
think
see the
this-
separation that
Right.
he can
right.
make it rain on the just or the unjust, but he gives everyone, for the most part, that same common grace.
Right.
I think we all have common grace.
Yeah.
Some have
Well,
saving grace.
well, there again, I disagree with that because we're breaking God's love into God loves some more than He loves others, and I don't believe that that's factual. So,
Right. So yeah, I mean, I was just using an example of his.
Right,
I mean,
right.
That's
I mean,
not
because
because we're John.
I mean,
What?
because we're
That's
all
not
created
according
in
to
God's
John.
image.
what did John say?
What did I do?
John said he was the loved one.
Oh,
That's what
yeah,
the one that
he was
Jesus
the
loved.
love.
And whom
He
he
loved.
loved. Whom he loved. I think he had a
That's right.
special bond to John, and I can understand.
I
why.
can-
I
I
am
can-
a John.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
You
I
think
think
the name is what it was?
Well, I
Is the
think
name.
that John. I don't know how we get off on that, but I think that John was just a down to earth, just a plain, just really wanted to really do the right thing, and I think Jesus sees that. All right, He also sees it in us,
Mhm.
and then when He says here, it's going to rain on just and unjust, and then. It's easier, what he goes on saying, well, it's easy to love somebody that loves you back, right?
Right.
That's the easiest thing to do. But to love somebody that hates your guts. I worked with it's been long years ago, but I worked in public school for a little bit, and they knew that at the time I was an associate pastor. I'd already been called a priest, but as associate pastor, worked at a school. Principal said, "Hey, listen, I know you're a preacher. Don't say nothing to nobody. You can't legally talk to. But there's a way to make kids ask questions. But anyway, there's a lady I worked with, and she hated my guts. She really did. Hated my guts. I remember her name. I'm not going to say it because she might be listening. We don't know. But anyway, really did despise me. And I did my best to just treat her like I was supposed to. And the kinder I was to her, the more she hated me. All right. And so I had to come to a realization, it's just like, I'm not going to be able to do anything, but I can't stop doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
It's not saying that I didn't want to say something and, act differently. I did, but it's like, who's watching us? It may just not be that person. It could be their family, or it could be friends
But
watching,
you
or other
planted
people.
seeds. You sowed
Yes.
seeds.
I tried to do
And
my
you can't
best.
help the ground as they fall. I mean,
That's right.
and then the Holy Spirit's responsible for the harvest in that regard.
So loving those, and then and I would like what y'all said of the tolerating love. I think I'd mentioned this before. I don't think it was a podcast, but I had a sermon one day about Jesus and how much people say that. Well, Jesus loves me. He does. And you go in the Bible and you read the stories about the woman that was caught in adultery, the rich man, and all of these things here that Jesus loved them. He loved them out of their sin. He didn't love them and go back sinning and I'll still love you no matter if you still sin. He wanted them to go and sin no more.
Right.
And that's the hard part, is because our love that we're supposed to have is not supposed to be based upon what we think is best, or what we think that God should do to somebody if they offend us, but rather what He's done for us through Jesus. And undeserving as we are, and we know that we are, they may be too, but they need love too, because they need Jesus. That's ultimately what they need. And if Jesus is in us, they ought to see Him rather than us.
So
And that's the hard part sometimes.
So, my favorite story is the four who carry the paraplegic to Christ, tear the hole in the roof, and Christ says because of their faith. So these four people loved their friend so much they carried him. And of course, then the Pharisees called him out for for blaspheming, and this is where I do agree with Shane. I think there's some things that Jesus did strictly because he could, and he said, "Well, which is easier? Take up your mat and walk, or sin no more." And so, I mean, that love is, and like you said, is easy for the most part for those you care about. It's the ones that irk you, and I like that word irk. I don't know why, but I like the word irk, and I cannot spell it. I think it's E-R-K. That's
I-R-K.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I couldn't spell it.
Now you can. See how much better you are just by being
Try that economy.
That's right. Yeah.
Use it in a sentence.
Hey, I want to, okay, speaking of love, I'm not, this is going to be bragging. I don't mean to brag, but we're leaving church. Now, I left later than normal. You know, everybody has a certain time they leave. You know what the traffic's like and all of this. But it gets kind of clogged up right out here up front. So I said, I go that road and go that way. I got behind somebody, and I hope they don't listen to this podcast. I won't say what kind of car it was.
Didn't you honk?
Listen, no,
Then,
listen.
John?
They got to the light, and there was nobody coming, and they did not turn. They had their blinker on. And it doesn't say don't turn on red. And I wanted so bad to honk. I wanted my
Was it Black Dog?
no, it wasn't. It was not. It was not.
I was already here.
But I did, and I thought about that. I said, okay, if we're going to say that we're going to do better, then we got to do better. I know it's little
Right.
petty little things
No,
like that, but being able to say, you know, Lord, just it's all right, just it'll be all right. And if I would have gotten in line at the other place, I would have already been gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was that long. But I said, I'm not going to let it get to me. I think Satan, he wants us to be thinking like that because it kind of it throws us off. And it's a lot easier to get angry than it is to, I think you already talked about forgiveness, you know, and really truly forgive. You know, may not forget, remember that, but to forgive them, meaning you love them and you want to show them the way that Jesus showed you. But you know, sometimes it's easier to love. If that car would have went on, I probably would have
Been to Sunday school earlier and been a better Christian, right?
Well, I was leaving church. I was
You were
on my
leaving
way to
church? Oh,
KFC. I don't know if we can say things on how popular we are. Maybe give me some free chicken.
Yeah.
But
That's what I say all the time.
Yeah.
I need to get some sponsors.
yeah.
Colonel.
But they didn't even have them order ready anyway. So see, it wouldn't have done me any good. But I don't even know if I had anything to do with that.
Well, you know, like you said, so kind of building off of what you said, and it says, and if, you know, it says, and if you only greet your brothers and sisters, what are you doing out of the ordinary? Don't even the Gentiles do the same? So it's like, if all I ever do is say hi to you five and my wife and kids every day, how am I living the way that God wanted me to live? How am I doing his mission that he has set upon us to be disciples and to spread the word of God by only saying hi to the same people daily? I'm not. Why not reach out to my enemy that has hate in his heart, that has dislike in his heart, that has sin in his body, and love him and pray for him so that maybe that way he can find my God as well and be saved.
What about those that, when Jesus says 70, you know, forgive them 70 times 7? That's what 70 times 7 is 490. What about the 491st time? Do you not have to do that anymore?
No, there again. I think
The idea, I think,
That's hyperbole.
and behind that, right, is you don't count. You just do it.
It's my favorite kind of math.
Not counting.
well, but
At least it didn't have letters in it.
Right.
Yeah.
well, but we should be that hungry and that sad that there are people out there in the world that do not know Christ, and that ought to be something that stirs in us.
It should weigh heavy on us daily.
Right.
I mean, constantly. So there again, when I read something like that, you know, there again, and I hate to sound cliche-ish about it, but Jesus is trying to be countercultural here.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to say there's a better way of doing this, and we can't just always be running around wanting to, chop people up and cuss people and not hang out with people.
Right.
Because some of it is, well, you're not like me, so I don't want to be with you, right? Jew and Samaritan, right? I mean, genealogy, they went back to same cat, right? But it gotten to the point to where they wouldn't even talk to one another, and they thought that they were bad. So, Jesus was going, how can you show God's love if you're not even willing to talk to somebody? So
I guess even culture differences can affect that part of it.
right.
Also.
So there again, I think Christ was trying to say there's a better way. And that's what I get out of all of these things. There's a better way than what we've been doing.
Right.
And we need to look at that, not what we've been doing.
I agree 100% with you. And I think that was one of the hardest things when I got back into my faith and really started reading and studying the Bible, that it was so simplistic of what we're told to do. And yet it's the hardest thing. Because, I mean, if you really pull it down, Jesus is basically telling us that every single day, every minute of every day, we should be thinking of God. Every single minute of the day, we should be doing for others, not for ourselves.
Right.
And it means that, even as our jobs, we put so much focus on our jobs, it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. And I've got, 50 irons in the fire, running 35 people, that it's hard to stay in that moment, in that feeling of, connected with God and doing what I'm supposed to do for Him, because I've got a job to do and I've got to produce and I've got to do this. And we let all of those things and the financial difficulties of the mortgage, the electric bill, the car payments, I got to do this, I've got to do that. And so it is a challenge, a struggle, to do the most simplest thing, which is, just think of God and put others first.
Right.
And that's what we're called to do. And, I don't think we do it. And, a lot of people think, I've had this conversation before, and they were kind of like, well, I don't think they meant, don't have a job, and don't do this and don't do that. And it's like, Paul tells you if you're not married, it's better for you to stay that way, because even the distraction of your wife, you're focused on making her happy when your sole purpose is to make God happy. And so, even with that, you're not given your full attention. And so, but if you're married, he's saying stay married and stay true and all that. But I mean, it's hard. I mean, I struggle with it daily. A lot of times, I get up in the morning, I have my routine. I get up, I take my shower, I eat breakfast, I sit down, I read my Bible until it's 6:30, then I get in my truck and I go to work. And to be honest with you, most days, once I leave that apartment, it's over, until that afternoon when I realize, well, I didn't talk to anybody about Jesus. I didn't think about, prayed over lunch, and that was about it, and feel guilty because I spent my day distracted from what I'm really supposed to be focused on. So
I see that a lot, especially in my profession of what I do for a job, as being a paramedic and a firefighter. I see that, you would think someone in my line of work would be able to make that connection and be a little bit closer during work, but at the same time, my job has made me question what's in this book
I can say
a lot more than I thought it would. And I won't lie, at one time it was my job that drove me away from God. But I've recently found out that, I need this. I have to have this to be who I am, to be a better version of myself, to make myself a better paramedic for people. And I'm working to get back to that profession full time. And I'm gonna do my best that when I am at work, I am gonna try to live by the word in the back of that ambulance.
I've
Because a
had
lot
that
of times
thought
it's
before.
hard.
My brother-in-law's a police officer, and I had that thought all the time, you know, of with what he sees, you know, and I have questions, I have doubts from time to time that just drive me crazy that I have doubts because when I stop and start thinking about it, there is no doubt, and I'm rock solid, you know, but there's things that creep in, but being in those type of situations and seeing a child or something like that, I mean,
And
I
that-
couldn't do it.
You know,
so.
and that would be my recommendation to anyone, you know, to current public service figures and to our future generations that are going to come up and fill those roles is before you step into that role, you better strengthen your faith
Mhm.
and
You're
strengthen
right.
your understanding because it is going to test you at the core. That is where the devil is going to put things in front of you that are going to pull you away and test you.
We talked about that this morning, Sunday school class. You know, even deep dives into doctrine and theology and scripture. They're going to cause it. I think Tim talked about that this morning also in the services, if I listened to him correctly. Proverbs 25, 21 and 22. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink, for you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. So, half shovel will heap.
But I think, you know, one thing, Eddie, I want to say and see if y'all agree with this. I think that's 100% absolutely correct, and The Chosen does a great job. And one of their episodes, they show you know, if he asks you to go a mile, go 2 miles, and they do that. And Jesus tells them why he's making them do it and all that. But you know, when it says love your enemy, you know, I don't think it means, you know, let's just pick on Russia for a minute. You know, should we love them? Should we want the best for them? Should we want them to have, you know, a decent life free of oppression and blah, 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 blah? Yes, but if they come stepping foot in this country with bad intentions, does that mean that we should coddle them and bend to their will, you know?
I agree with that. No, because I'm going to use this morning, the sermon with Nehemiah.
Build a wall.
The builders were strapped with what at all times?
Oh, yeah. And Jesus said, so if you don't have a sword, sew your cloak and get one. You know,
Right.
so.
Let me take it a step further. Let me take it a step further. What about those that are called to go into war? And to have those shooting at you, trying to take your life at that moment, or you every pull of the trigger said, Lord, I love him. I love him. I love him. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that we're in situations like that, you go, oh my gosh, because I have had discussions with those that have been in those, and you know,
At
it's
that-
just
At that point in time, you you're fulfilling your wordly duty as your career or your path of chosen that you've chosen, right? I think at that point, yes, you can still love your enemy. You can still love that person across the firing field as a human being. You can still wish them goodwill. But at the same time, what are they trying to accomplish against you, right? I'll use a moment in history. I'll take it back to World War I. There was a time in a certain battlefield in World War I where troops from opposing sides, Christmas morning, got up. Not the governments, but the captains on the battlefield called a ceasefire, and they had talk, coffee, and food together in the middle of the trenches. When the sun set, they went back to their trenches. 2 days later, the war resumed. How is that not God stepping in and the love of God and loving thy enemy? He proved to the world at that point in time, in that little battlefield, that it is possible.
I agree, but we got a lot of battlefields.
Yes,
even
we do.
today.
I think the government's ought to have to get to a ring, fisticuffs about. We'll go president to president, you know, cabinet against cabinet, whatever they want to do, however you want to break it down. But if they're the ones wanting to start this crap, then let them sort it out. Get in the ring, handle it.
Fisticuffs.
You know, there's some countries that
I'll
require
vote
their
for that.
leaders to have, their leaders are the ones that served up through the military and got ranked
Yeah.
to serve as the leader.
Yeah.
Because most of those took power by the
Force.
Yeah.
by gunpoint. So
All right.
But
We're going to move forward.
You want to go back to the?
Nope, we're diving in. We are
We
jumping
got
into.
two more now. We
we
need to
are-
find out their opinion.
We are jumping into chapter 6. This
Read
one.
the last verse.
And there again, folks, I was just here playing basketball. I was just here playing basketball.
So chapter 6 starts out with the head head being of giving to the needy. So I'll start in verse 1. It says, "Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you." This is one that I've always liked, in sense of help, and to help people who need. We have two families right now in our church that are in a huge struggle in their lives. And the fact that I can look at those GoFundMe pages and that they have, and look at the different posts on Facebook and this, that, and the other. But what I love most, and I'm going to use the GoFundMe accounts, is you can click on there and see who all was given and how much they have given. And the ones I enjoy seeing the most are the ones that say anonymous 10 or anonymous 500, because either way they're giving what they can, but they want no recognition for it. They're not giving to help, to say, look at me. They're giving because they, in some form or fashion, whether they know who Christ is or not, they're giving because they've had something placed on their heart, which we know is the Holy Spirit telling them to move, but to give to these families and who are in need. And Heather and I, at one point in time in our early marriage, were doing and giving so much help that we actually put ourselves in financial debt. We were not prepared for that. But we also had to learn we can't help everybody either. And that was part of how we learned that. And so, but I love the fact that he calls out, and which takes me to which story where the Pharisees is praising at the well and goes, "Well, I don't have it as bad as he does," talking to the other guy at the well or the fountain or wherever they were. To me, in my own point of view, people who brag on themselves truly annoy me.
Yes, and on that, I'll agree with you because in our professions, how many times have you seen it to where you go out to eat and you be like, "Oh well, do you have a first responder discount?"
How people ask that all the time. Oh my gosh.
Why should they give you a discount?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not.
I don't
I
vote for that.
I have turned.
Get it.
Yeah. I
It's
have
like,
turned
see, I
down.
can wait to be
Well,
65.
So I'm saying it as
More
in,
years.
as in this, right?
Yeah.
Because public service, especially as a paramedic, a firefighter, police officer, we always say it's not a job, it's a call.
It is.
You have to be called to do that job because if you're not going to last. You're not. And not with you may, but you're not going to get the effects of it like some of us have, unfortunately. But I see it time and time again where even these companies and cities will be like, so-and-so beat the time limit for getting them from on scene to balloon for the heart attack. Attaboy, congratulations all over Facebook. Every time I've hired on with the company, I've told them, I don't want that. I don't. Because one thing it does, it portrays me as a boastful person. That I'm doing it for the attaboy. I'm doing it for the applause. I'm doing it for the recognition of others and accolades, right? When truly what I'm doing it,
Another big word.
truly what I got into it for is to help my fellow man. To be there for my fellow man.
But that's your heart.
Right.
That is your call.
Keep going.
And
But you
and
can't
that's
take
one
away what
thing-
people want to bless you with.
Right.
And you can't go, well, I ain't taking that.
And so one of the biggest, probably the biggest thing in my career as a firefighter was I was a 7-month rookie and got my first save from a structure fire. We got back to the station, everything was done. The guys were like, great job, you did a good job, da-da-da-da. There's people that go 20, 25, 30 years, and all they do is recovery after recovery after recovery. So this is a big, big deal. And I'm like, isn't that just what we're supposed to do? Well, then a few shifts later, apparently one of the guys on my shift reached out to the F&P and they actually came down to Jacksonville. The commissioner of Cherokee County, the governor, we got plaques and letters and a hall of fame, and the chief is talking about this, and I'm like, I don't want this. I've never seen what I did in my 8-year career as doing it to be honored or praised.
Did you throw your own party? Did you set it up and everything?
No, I don't want it.
Well, what's the big deal? Other
I
people
don't-
were doing it, but I know
Well,
you don't
right,
want it.
but
What it's talking about
that's not
here-
why I
But
didn't.
that's not why we do anything. Most of us. I mean, it's different. Let's say the offer plate's coming, and I stand up and go, "Hey, pass it over here. I got a hundo. I'm putting it in the offer." Or before they go up there to the deacon, stay up there. And I walk up there and I go,
Right.
Look what I'm doing. What Jesus is saying here is that it shouldn't be about you.
Mhm.
All these situations are not about y'all.
Right.
There are recognitions in life. Well, I'm going to tell you as a pastor, there's October's Pastor Appreciation Month. And when people cooked food for me or gave me things, I didn't go, oh, no, John. I mean, yeah, Thank you very much.
Give me that pie.
Thank you, because I knew it was their way of showing appreciation. And you are humble and all of that.
Right.
But let's say it's different if you go, you don't want the recognition for helping somebody. It's different if you go and throw them in there, in the fire, and then go in and get them and bring them back out. Yeah, that's different. That's boasting. You see what I'm
I'm
saying?
going, why didn't you give me a plaque?
So what
Because
he's
I
saying
never
is-
got that.
That's the way,
I think
look
that
at it.
carries a charge with it.
Well, that you're not boasting. It's
That
about
might
boasting.
carry a charge with it.
So
Well, the word there that he starts out with, I think, is a word that's important in the context. It's righteousness, right? So we're trying to be right with God when we're not.
Beware of practicing your righteousness
Righteousness.
before
Right.
others.
Right. So I'm trying to show everybody how right I am with God, right? So Christ there again is saying that's really not what we want to do. And the examples that he give here are real examples. They used to do that. The rich people would make a production
used to, they
out
still
of
do.
giving money. They wanted that recognition. Hey, look at me. I'm so rich. I can do whatever I want to. Here's, throw it up in the air, right?
Mhm.
So there again, I think it's our righteousness that when we're trying to, hey, look at me, that's where we're starting to mess up, right? We're messing up at that point.
Yeah, because who says we cannot boast in ourselves but boast in the Lord alone? Is that Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's what I'm seeing here is he's not saying, what he's saying is to give, right? Give, help, but do so in the name of God.
Mm-hmm.
As we give, we should be giving, we should be living and helping in the name of God, not in the glory of ourselves, but in the glory of Him.
Well, we're stewards. We're stewards. So, and there again, there's a word that we need to look at. What does stewardship means? It means we're given something to take care of. The possessions that we have, and when I say have, right, they're His.
And can you think of a biblical example of when Jesus was honored?
When Jesus was honored,
Well, he got
riding into
to
Jerusalem,
Jerusalem, and they were throwing stuff at him.
That's one of them.
and then 6 days later they hung him on a tree. So
But what happened a few days before he rode in? Didn't somebody come in and clean his feet?
Well,
And just honored him.
yeah.
And just honored him.
right.
right. And
And-
in that situation, yeah, Mary was going, yeah, let's do this.
So I think the humility
It's the
is the foremost thing that we carry. We've all had somebody do something for us
Right.
that we didn't know about. We didn't know who it was, but it just fell in our laps. And we've all been on the receiving end of that. And it could be something small, it could be something big. But we've all also been on the other end of that where we've given. And I do know and believe that it's the attitude of our heart, and God will look at that, because sometimes we can't help it. Mary, when 20 years plus ago, when I turned 50, threw me a surprise party. It was truly a surprise. In fact, I told her I wasn't going to that building. Well, we don't have to go over there. It was at the Family Life Center at the church we were attending. I said, somebody's doing something. We don't. And I drove on past it. She almost had to get mad at me. Yeah, she kind of did. And I turned around, went back, walked in the door, and there were all these people there for me, and it floored me. And I was appreciative of it. She even had a friend of mine with his band there. And like all good Methodists, we danced in the Family Life Center.
Right.
But
We don't
People-
do that here, Eddie.
no, we don't. Now, I've offered to teach dance lessons because Mary and I can do that. But so far, the preacher said no. And but we've all been recipients of that, and it's the attitude of our heart. And then the flip side of that again is the graciousness with which we can also honor back someone who has done that for us because they love us.
Right. I was gonna ask. So a question I have on that is so it says what we're understanding from it is do things to not be boastful, to get applause and everything like that. But if I do something for somebody and they recognize me publicly, am I then committing sin by not denying the act, but by not receiving the appreciation?
I think you need to be gracious. I failed to do that on some occasions too. I've learned to be gracious and to be truly thankful and to honor that which they did for me. And and it's a special thing when people do want to honor you. Of course, their motives we can't help, but I believe that we need to honor those folks. Now we can avoid it all. We can try to avoid it as much as we can. And I've told people, if something like that happens, don't you say a word about me and about who did it.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a school district one time, and this was not my money, but there was I was a finance guy. There was a pouch of money sitting over here to the tune of about $300,000. That was the director of finance, the finance guy's money. He could do with it what he wanted to. He had to stay within limits of it. But what I wound up being able to do was if I went to a school, and I'm former principal and all that kind of stuff, and I see those things, and I see a need, and it's outside the scope, I can go back to office and I can order something and have it sent to them, and they had to have figured it out eventually, but I could give that to them, and it was like being a good Santa Claus, but I did that under the wire, and we honored teachers, we honored people in maintenance, we honored people all over the place for that, spending that part of money for the right thing. And I think attitude and the condition of your heart when you do those things, they do count, but we should honor people.
Well, so real quick before we wrap up, two things or one thing I've seen since we began this study. Every section we have read thus far revolves around the heart. Where is your heart at?
That's motivation.
What's your motivation?
Heart of stone,
Heart of flesh.
heart of flesh, circumcision of the heart, uncircumcision.
Right.
And those are two
So-
very explicit descriptors
And
in
so
the Bible.
And so going back to the, learning to be gracious of people doing stuff for you and honoring you and this and that.
It's hard. It's hard.
I don't accept compliments very well. I never have. I'm extremely hard on myself. I appreciate y'all when y'all say stuff to me, but that's a hard thing for me to accept. For most of y'all know that last November I had a root canal done. It was emergent, and I somehow or another, I have no idea how, it got into the church that people found out that it was how much it was going to cost, and we were trying to find the funds because I have to have it done because I had a hole the size of my tooth that was as big as an eraser on the end of a pencil. And the Sunday before the root canal, Tim hands me money to cover, it was like 92% of the root canal. And I have never felt so, well, love's not the word I want to use, but so cared about, that there were people willing to cover that cost, because it was not a small cost. And the whole gracious part I like about that is that was all I could feel was grace. That people did care that much, and to cover a medical expense that we otherwise would have had to find out how to charge it or reschedule the procedure and the procedure. So
Well, that's what the
that's
church
the giving
is
that
supposed to be.
that when Tim came to me and said, "Here," he said, "I wish I could say this is from me. None of it is from me, and I don't even know where it's coming from. I was not told where it came from."
Well, none of it was
So-
for me, because I was still pissed at you for not coming over and letting me do it in the garage. I had the tools. You know.
See, that's the kind of love.
Well, we all, but
That's true love right there.
man, I've got a unibit, some alcohol in the garage.
I've been doing it for
This
free,
thing,
man.
yeah. I had some new pliers. I was itching to try it.
We would have went truly biblical.
That's right.
All right, well, guys, thank you, and y'all. This was fun. I'm glad y'all two popped y'all's heads around.
We just wanted y'all to smell the brisket on us.
Well, I haven't smelt it yet, but
I
he
feel like
has.
he's over here
His
doing
hands
this.
are moving around, and so all he's doing is getting whiffs of food. But
We did not eat any. I didn't. Did you eat any?
you mean
No.
you mean you cut brisket without sampling it?
Well,
You
I
know
thought
I
it was
did.
a clean environment. I didn't. I mean, you know
How
the
do
restaurant.
It's
You
all
don't
right.
want them cooks back there tasting on your food, do you?
You have self-control like I have never known.
I didn't
may
spit
not
it out.
anymore.
I do quality control.
Hey,
and we
you
don't
have
take
to.
all the-
Like Eddie said, it's only clean if you spit it out. It's not clean if you spit it out.
Well,
I
guys,
do quality control all the time.
Well, guys, I thank them and y'all, and like I said, Shane, I might be giving you a call to figure out how to split this exactly, because the pre-show is going to be its own episode. It's too good not to share with everyone.
Oh, sorry we missed that.
It was fun.
But
There were still 45 minutes on the clock when we stuck our heads in.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's over 50 minutes.
yeah, it was over 50
So
minutes.
y'all only
Also-
had nine minutes on tape when we got here.
Yep.
Why are they still talking about that?
Well, guys, y'all have a great week. We get to go support our kids ministry and our youth ministry this evening and enjoy a show. I've heard a lot about Kurt doing something, but I have no idea
I know,
what.
I
So I'm kind of
I can tell you.
I
curious.
know what he's going
We're
to
not
do.
going to give it away.
Surprise?
Just won't post it
I
out.
think he's singing and dancing is what I've heard. So I'm curious to see how this is going to turn out with our cage and with our
He's a
Cajun.
deacon.
You got a little side coat. I get Ryan.
Well, guys, we will see y'all next week. All right, thanks.